A Portrait of Love and Discovery, Charles Willson Peale's Benjamin and Eleanor Ridgely Laming, 1788. Charles Willson Peale, 1741 to 1827, was one of the most prominent American artists of the late 18th and early 19th centuries. He was not only a painter, but also a naturalist, inventor, and museum founder. His portraits of the founding fathers, such as George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, are among the most iconic images of the American Revolution. However, Peale also painted many private portraits of his friends and patrons, often incorporating elements of their interests and personalities into the compositions. One of his most charming and intimate portraits is that of Benjamin and Eleanor Ridgely Laming, painted in 1788. The Lamings were a wealthy couple from Maryland, who had moved to Philadelphia in 1785. They were close friends of Peale and his family, and commissioned him to paint their portraits several times. The painting in question shows them seated on a grassy rise in a landscape, leaning towards each other in a gesture of affection. The painting is rich in symbolism and aesthetic allure, inviting viewers into a narrative woven with elements of love, nature, and discovery. The most obvious theme of the painting is the love between the couple, which Peale depicts with a remarkable degree of realism and tenderness. The man leans heavily towards the woman, propped on one elbow near her hip. He looks at her with blue eyes under grey, arched brows, and his pale pink lips are closed in a slight smile. He wears a forest green coat, a white waistcoat embroidered with golden yellow, a white shirt and ruffled tie, and buff-colored breeches. His right hand, to our left, is propped loosely against his hip, while his other hand, near the woman, holds a long, wooden telescope. The woman sits upright, resting one hand over his forearm and wrist, and the other holding a spray of purple clover blossoms. She looks off into the distance to our left with grey eyes, and her pink lips also curl in a faint smile. She has smooth cheeks, a delicate nose, and a strand of pearls weaves through the brown hair loosely piled on her head and through the thick curls that fall over her shoulders. Her white dress is loosely draped around her body, and an ocean blue sash with gold stripes and fringe wraps around her waist. A sprig of pink flowers is tucked into a fold at her neckline, and she holds at least 3 peaches and a stem of leaves in her lap. A swath of white fabric, perhaps from her skirt, wraps up and over the man's thigh, closer to her. The couple's poses and expressions convey a sense of intimacy and harmony, as well as a playful and flirtatious mood. Their clothing and accessories also suggest their social status and taste, as well as their personal preferences. The man's green coat, for instance, may reflect his interest in nature and hunting, while the woman's blue sash may indicate her fondness for the sea and sailing. The pearls and flowers in her hair and dress may symbolize her femininity and beauty, while the peaches in her lap may allude to her fertility and sensuality. The second theme of the painting is the nature that surrounds and envelops the couple, creating a picturesque and idyllic setting for their romance. Peale was an avid naturalist, who collected and studied various specimens of plants and animals, and displayed them in his museum. He often incorporated elements of nature into his portraits, not only as decorative motifs, but also as symbols of the subject's characters and values. In this painting, Peale depicts a landscape that is both realistic and idealized, blending elements of the American and European scenery. Behind the woman, a tree grows on a low hill along the right edge of the canvas and off the top. The landscape opens into an expansive vista to our left, with spindly trees growing in a low meadow that leads back to a body of water in the deep distance. Miniscule in scale, tiny boats and buildings line the water's edge near the horizon. A few thin, silvery grey and petal-pink clouds skim across the pale blue sky. The landscape is not just a backdrop, but a participant in the couple's silent dialogue. It reflects their mood and personality, as well as their aspirations and dreams. The tree behind the woman, for example, may symbolize her stability and strength, while the water in the distance may represent the man's curiosity and adventurous spirit. The clouds in the sky may suggest their optimism and hope, while the flowers and fruits in their hands and laps may imply their love and happiness. The third theme of the painting is the discovery that the couple shares and enjoys, both in their relationship and in their exploration of the world. Peale was a man of the Enlightenment, who believed in the power of reason and science to improve human society and knowledge. He was fascinated by the new discoveries and inventions that were emerging in his time, such as the telescope, the microscope, and the balloon. He often included these objects in his portraits, as symbols of the subject's intelligence and curiosity. In this painting, Peale depicts the man holding a telescope, which is not only an instrument, but a metaphor for foresight and knowledge. The telescope signifies an era of exploration and enlightenment, in which new lands and stars were being revealed and mapped. The man's gesture of holding the telescope towards the woman may suggest that he is inviting her to join him in his quest for discovery, or that he is sharing with him his vision and insight. The woman's gaze towards the distant horizon may complement his gesture, indicating that she is also forward-looking, and that she shares his interest and enthusiasm. The telescope is not the only object of discovery in the painting. Next to the man's right hand, a green parrot stands with its wings lifted as it turns its head back over its body. The parrot is an exotic and colorful creature, which may have been imported from the tropics or from Peale's museum. The parrot adds a touch of whimsy and humor to the painting, as well as a symbol of the allure of distant lands and cultures. The parrot may also represent the couple's playful and lively nature, as well as their ability to communicate and understand each other. Charles Willson Peale's Benjamin and Eleanor Ridgely Laming is a portrait that celebrates the love and discovery that the couple shares and enjoys. Peale depicts them with realism and tenderness, as well as with symbolism and aesthetic appeal. He creates a narrative that invites viewers into their world, and reveals their characters and values. The painting is a testament to Peale's artistic skill and vision, as well as to his friendship and admiration for the Lamings. It is a portrait that transcends time and place, and speaks to the universal themes of love, nature, and discovery.